You're watching Pulse, this is episode 95, and it's time for some Diablo news. In this week's episode, we take a look at the Monk's Spirit and Auras, item upgrades, gear sets, and much more. Let's get to it. Jumping straight into the Diablo 3 news, Bashiok recently dished out quite a few replies to questions about Monk's skills and his spirit resource on the Battle.net forums. The first question was, does spirit naturally deplete after not being used for some time? Bashiok replied by saying that spirit is static, it doesn't regenerate and it doesn't degenerate, which is good for all those Monk fans out there, I guess. Punching demons and using melee skills build spirit, and most Monk skills spend it. The next question Bashiok was asked was if it's true that the Monk's auras functioned more like Barbarian's war cries now, in the latest build of the game. Bashiok said that the Barbarian shouts are powerful, limited duration buffs that you must recast once they wear off. Monk's auras are very similar. Yes, that was sadly all he had to say on that topic. There were a few more questions, one about the UI and how well it functioned and allowed players to keep track of what was going on with combos, spirit, and everything else. To which Bashiok answered that they don't want tracking of combo stages to be so important that there needs to be a special UI element to keep track of it. It should be that if you're up on your game, you're tracking combo stages and it helps you get a slight edge. But if not, you're kicking ass anyway and you'll probably do fine. Additionally, other small snippets that we learned include that a Monk's charges do in fact expire. They reset after a time, but it's a good amount of time. And the final stage on combo skills is usually the powerful topper. That is quite a bit of information, and I'm sure the future Monk players out there can't contain their excitement. There's a lot more to read on the topic of Monks, but you'll have to explore that for yourself. You can find all the information I just spoke about, and much more below, courtesy of Diablo Inc. gamers and Diablo fans. As a quick extra, all the Bashiok fans out there will be happy to know that he will in fact be working as full-time as he can on Diablo 3 once it launches, as a community manager, of course, seeing that that is in fact what he does, and he's currently doing it quite well. I know, probably something that was totally expected, but I still felt I had to mention it. You can read more about that below. Next in our slightly more speculative and mostly originating from the forums and Twitter news, we have a lot of talk about item upgrades and gear sets. First, the item upgrades. A fan recently got into a discussion with Bashiok asking if players could use lower tier items or pieces of lower level item sets to craft higher level sets, or at least upgrade those lower level sets to be as good as the higher level ones. So that's not the case. You wouldn't be trading that old item in, you would either be crafting, looting, or trading a new one. And yes, worse items would be sold for gold, salvaged for crafting materials, or otherwise traded away. That does sort of make sense if you ask me, but the reason the fan wanted to know is because of the looks of the items. He wanted to know if he could keep the low level looks if they looked better than the higher level ones, which I think Blizzard mentioned quite a few times should never be the case. Also, you can make items better by adding sockets, upgrading gems, adding enchantments, and more. But the fact of the matter is that you can do all those same things to high level items anyway, so they'll always be better. So this discussion went on for quite some time, and most of the talk was about whether players would be able to, if they felt the need, keep the looks of older items and keep upgrading them to stay in touch with the level that your character is. Yes, I guess that was sort of covered by Bashiok's previous answer. He did say that there is, however, something to be said for characters at the very end game, and wanting to diversify their looks beyond what was already available. There are obviously options, like the dyes, but he says that if Blizzard feels it's necessary to add more customization options, they can at a later stage. On the topic of gear sets, which we have heard quite a lot about already, we've been told a little more. So firstly, we know that there are 18 visual tiers of gear in the game, but what was recently told to us was that these 18 tiers of gear will in fact be spread out across all the different difficulty levels of the game: Normal, Nightmare, and Hell. Bashiok gave us an example that in Normal you may well see looks 1 through 5 drop in Nightmare you may see visual looks 6 through 10, etc. Again, just an example, he did say that he wasn't even sure how exactly they were decided to be broken out. Bashiok was also asked if, hypothetically of course, those 5 to 6 tiers of gear that we would be seeing in normal mode would feel like enough progression. Would our gear look and feel good enough at the end of normal, different enough at the end of nightmare? He replied by saying that he thinks it feels really good, that you're not getting whole sets dropped for you, and that it's a pretty constant upgrading process. You're probably not running around in a complete looking set for long unless you're denying yourself upgrades to make a cohesive look, or you're just getting bad drops. Some interesting stuff here, but hey, I won't be able to make a call until I see these sets in motion and get to test them for myself in-game. Let's hope that's soon. So you can read more about all the aforementioned information below. Now for the ever interesting and always entertaining, or is it the other way around? Art updates. First up, we take a look at the latest fan art watch post from the guys and girls over at Diablo Inc. Gamers and their wonderfully creative community. This is number 96 and it's titled The Wizards of Xian Sai. The first two images are, of course, of female wizards, and the third is apparently a mage that is possessed by Diablo, tearing a portal from hell into reality. Pretty hardcore, but still pretty cool. In the latest weekly wallpaper post, we have yet more Tyrael wallpapers made with the Brom piece we were given last week. Yes, these are, as the others were, well worth checking out in full size. Then in two smaller pieces we have some pretty impressive fan-made Barbarian and Witch Doctor figurines, and some photos of a peculiar looking black soulstone from Blizzard's on-campus art gallery. Yes, there's been quite a lot of speculation about the latter, some hints of what's to come in Diablo 3 perhaps? Who knows. You can see more of both those items below. Enjoy. And with that done, let's head on over to the Diablo 3 Smalls. In the Smalls this week, over at Diablo Inc. Gamers, you can read about how Activision is apparently eyeing MySpace and online fees for Call of Duty. You can read about the Diablo 3 mouse and headset in action. You can check out Forum Watch number 70, Dark Library number 41, and an interesting post about the Nephilim Cube, which is the new Herodric Cube in Diablo 3. Then lastly from Diablo Inc. Gamers, you can check out the latest Diablo podcast, number 13. This one's about the BlizzCon PVM demo play experience. Then right here on YouTube you can check out Purgatory for June the 14th from Force Strategy Gaming, DiabloCast episode 13, get your PhD in BattleNet. There's a poll over at Diablo Fans about the Diablo 3 Collector's Edition. And lastly, two more interesting posts over at Diablo Fans, the first one titled Sanctuary Speculation, Imperious, and The Monk Breaks His Vow of Silence. Now let's check out the Diablo 3 questions and answers. First off, will barbarians make use of spears if they are in the game still? If so, what kind of crazy animations will he or she have with it? Basing this off the brutal dual-wielding axe animations from the original gameplay video, which still makes me salivate to this day. Dual-wielding spears as a barbarian is fun. Polearms, two-handed, are a separate item class. You said once that all characters will be balanced. Example, wizard can tank just as much as a barbarian, etc. Is that still true? I'd like to see that quote. I think what was said is that all classes are equally DPS classes, and all equally viable. But no, I don't think a tanky wizard build could withstand the same amount of damage as a tanky barbarian could. Their skills and traits are fundamentally different. You could build a tanky wizard, but it wouldn't play the same as a barbarian would. How come the barbarian has to build up rage in order to use abilities, when other classes can spam them all day? Not all barbarian skills require fury to use, and some even generate it. And not all other classes can just spam abilities. They have resource requirements too. Most of the loot we've seen on characters in-game is made of at least 3 colors or so. Will dye apply to only the item's base color, or will the system be more intricate, allowing you to dye highlights or secondary sections as well? No, an item can only be dyed one color at a time. And this last question, how is Diablo a bestseller before release? Pre-orders. That is, once again, all I have for you in the Diablo news. I hope you all had your fill and can last another week till the next episode. Remember though that we are in fact nearing that silly third quarter that we're waiting for the Diablo 3 beta, so have heart. Anyway, thanks for watching, liking the video, sharing it with your friends and subscribing. Most importantly though, happy Bashiok the community manager.